Hi, this is Rubbernecker. Today we're going to show you how to use our set number 866 Petunias. It's a two-part stamp set, consists of an outline and a solid portion. First thing we're going to do is show you how to align the stamps. Take the stamp and turn it upside down and lay it over the image, covering that portion of the image. It can only be laid one way. They're all asymmetric. So we lay it down like that, cover up that portion of the image. Then we take the block and we lay the block on the stamp, keeping this edge parallel with the edge of the packaging. Just like that. And then we take the outline portion and do the same thing. We lay it down on the packaging, covering up the stamp, and take the block and lay it on there so the block edge is parallel with the packaging. Alright. So now let's take the outline portion of the stamp. What we're going to use today is distressed ink, spun sugar for this, but you can use anybody's water-based dye ink that you prefer. I'm going to take this and ink up the whole stamp. Now, using a water brush from Yasutomo, I'm going to add some color burst. This is a new powder, watercolor powder from Ken Oliver Crafts. Take the water brush and we're going to put some water onto the stamp, just clean water. Now I'm going to pick up a little bit of this color burst out of my watercolor tray. It's very intense, so we don't need very much. I'm just going to dab it onto the wet area of the stamp. Just like that. Now with the water brush again, we'll pick up some of the yellow out of our tray. We'll just add the yellow as a contrasting color out on the edge here. Now we're going to use a Ranger Mini Mister. Give it a little spritz of water. And onto a piece of watercolor cardstock, we'll stamp our image, keeping the edges again parallel with the edge of the paper. And there we have our first image. Now this needs to dry before we can do our next step. So we're going to set this one aside. And we'll bring in one that we've pre-done from a little earlier that's dry already. Now, using the outline portion of the stamp, we're going to stamp this with embossing ink. We're using distressed embossing ink, but any embossing ink is fine. And the outline does not match it exactly, so using the technique we showed before, keeping the edge parallel with the edge of the paper, all we have to do is stamp it into the general area of the color, and we'll have a match. Now we're going to use some Mirror Gold embossing powder. This is from Stampomania. This is outstanding embossing powder. And we have got a fairly good sized jar of it over here, so that I won't spill it onto the table when I go to put it back. We'll sprinkle that on our card. Dump it right in there. Put it back in there fairly successfully. Clean that off just a bit. Pardon the noise of the heat gun. The Martha Stewart heat gun is not as hot as some of them are, so it takes just a couple seconds longer to melt it. There's the image for our card. Dry that just a little bit more on the back, flatten out the watercolor paper. Now we're going to use our Rubbernecker outline stamp. And using Ranger's black soot, go around that. See if we can give a nice frame to this. Right about there, I think. We pre-made this little phrase to go with it. Put that on there. It's the beginning of a nice little card. And that's the Rubbernecker set number 866 Petunias.